everybody, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, and this week's contract tip has to do with the brand new 2017 GAR contract forms. A couple of issues. The 2017 GAR contracts begin on January 1, 2017. They will be up and running and available to you through Forms Pro on FMLS and through Transaction Desk on Georgia MLS. So they'll be unlike previous years when typically they weren't up and running until the end of January, beginning of February. This year they do start January 1, 2017, and the 2016 contracts will expire December 31st of this year. So wanted to bring to your attention a couple of issues regarding that, regarding when they are available. You are a licensed user of the GAR contracts if you are a realtor. So if you're a realtor and a member of a local board of realtors, and then you have membership into the National Association of Realtors, you will use your NRDS number to log in to Forms Pro and to Georgia MLS to unlock or open up your 2017 GAR contracts. So the point to you is, if you are a realtor, make sure that your realtor dues are paid in full so that there is no lapse in your realtor status with your board membership, and so that your NRDS number will be able to unlock or for you to access the GAR forms through the listing services. If you are not a realtor and want to become an authorized user of the GAR forms, you need to go to the Georgia Association of Realtors website and purchase the forms to become an authorized user. The GAR is charging $229 this year. So you go to Georgia Association of Realtors website, you click on, it's under the Law and Ethics tab, and then it says contract forms, and you go through that and you will find a link where you can purchase the copyright use for the forms for 2017. You will get an ID number. Then in January of next year, when you log on to FMLS and Georgia MLS, you're going to put in that new authorized user ID number, and that will unlock the forms for you. So go ahead and do that now so that you have no interruption in your practice using any of the contract forms in January. So, good news and bad news. We'll start with the bad news. The bad news is there are a lot of changes this year. The good news is those changes do not really affect the fill-in-the-blank portion of you as an agent interacting with these contracts. The majority of the changes have to do with the purchase and sale. This is the first major overhaul of the purchase and sale as far as the content of it goes in approximately 10 years. Now, we know a few years ago they did change and put all the fill-in-the-blanks on the front page, but they didn't change a lot of the content. Then more recently, they did make some changes in the verbiage to reflect the new TRID laws. So this year reflects the first major change in the actual content of the pre-printed material, and the majority of those changes, as I said, are in the actual purchase and sale agreement. Basically, what the Georgia Association of Realtors has done in their forms committee is they have added a lot of verbiage to clarify concepts to agents, to lenders, and more importantly to the public, to your customers and clients who are signing these forms. So a lot of these changes are great. As I said, there are a lot of changes, but it's not necessarily fill-in-the-blank changes. There are only 3 new forms this year. One of those new forms you guys are going to love. It is an additional signature page form. Thank goodness. So if you have more than 2 buyers or more than 2 sellers, now you have an actual separate page for 3, 4, 5, and 6, buyer number 3, 4, 5, and 6, or seller number 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you don't have to try and cram it in there or figure out how to get all these additional customers or clients on your contract. So in line with the additional signature page, there's an additional signature page for buyers and sellers. There is also an additional signature page for landlords and tenants. In keeping with this, on the existing signature page, they have added a number. So it has number 1 by buyer 1, number 2 by buyer 2, 1 by seller 1, 2 by seller 2, so forth. And then they have added a checkbox that says additional signature page is or is not attached to the contract. So you'll see that. That's a great change. couple of the other changes I want to bring to your attention that do majorly affect you. Well, all the changes affect you, but one of the changes has to do with the counteroffer form. There was a lot of questions or controversy, I guess, over if the buyer and the seller went binding on a counteroffer form, but there were exhibits attached to the original offer, was the seller required to go back and initial those exhibits as long as nothing in those exhibits had been countered or changed? And the answer, of course, as you know or should know from taking contracts classes, is no. The counteroffer incorporated the original offer, and the original offer references special stipulations and exhibits. So there was no need contractually for the seller to go back and initial any of the exhibits that were attached, especially if they were not changed. However, many of the lenders out there requested that the seller go back and initial those exhibits. So there were all kinds of questions on that. So what GAR has done, and I think there were a lot of agents out there that misunderstood that as well. So what GAR has done this year in the counteroffer form is they specifically reference that the counteroffer does include all exhibits attached hereto or incorporated by reference. And then under paragraph C in the counteroffer form, where it says effect of accepting this counteroffer, it specifically states in the 2017 revision that when the counteroffer is signed by the buyer and seller and a copy of the same is delivered to both parties, a legally binding agreement shall be formed. Since the original offer, including all exhibits thereto, is incorporated by reference into this counteroffer, only this counteroffer needs to be signed to create a legally binding agreement between the parties. Again, you guys, that's always been the law. That's always been how contracts work, but GAR just put in that verbiage to clarify it for the co-op agents, for all the parties involved, for the lenders. Now, that being said, your lender may still require buyer signatures to be on those exhibits. If that's the situation, you might want to consider doing a conformed copy and using the GAR, the GAR special stipulation regarding conformed copies. Another huge change that really is a good thing, affects you guys, has to do with the community association exhibit. As you know, with closings, buyers and sellers are having all kinds of issues with the fees attached to a community association exhibit, and a lot of these fees no one knew, not being disclosed until closing, and so forth and so on. So the other issue is that a lot of community associations would not disclose any of the information to a buyer or to a selling agent, only to the seller that was a member of the homeowners association. So basically what GAR has done this year in the forms is they have brought that information to light in writing, and they have put a financial consequence to the seller for not disclosing any fees. So basically there are two new paragraphs on the community association disclosure. One says directions for filling out this disclosure. Some community associations will not communicate directly with the buyers who have contracted to purchase property within their communities until the buyer actually becomes an owner. Instead, the community association will only provide information about the community to existing owners, including sellers who are selling their units. Since buyers cannot often make a meaningful evaluation of a property without knowing the community association in which the property is located, the community disclosure is designed to help buyers better understand their obligations in becoming a member of the community association in which the property is located. So that's one new paragraph, just to explain the situation. Then the next new paragraph is where it talks about the finances. It states, in the event the seller fails to disclose herein the full amount of any fees, assessments, or charges due and payable to the community association or its management on or before the closing, seller shall be responsible for paying undisclosed fees, assessments, and charges at the closing. So basically the intent is to try and get the sellers involved in helping to determine what all of the fees are that are being charged by the homeowners association, so that the buyer may make an informed decision regarding that. And because the buyer cannot necessarily get this information on his or her own. So if the seller does not do that and help with that, there is a financial consequence that any undisclosed fees become the seller's responsibility at closing. There are some potential issues with the wording of this, grammatically speaking, and GAR is aware of that and will try and change the wording of it either before the contracts are up and running January 1, or more than likely at the mid-year review, because grammatically, is it that the disclosure needs to be made on or before closing, or is the reference of all the fees due on or before closing? So a couple of issues there that GAR is going to work on, but that does affect you if you are especially a listing agent or working with a buyer. Basically, the admonition is sellers need to find out all the fees and disclose those to the buyers, or there will be some financial consequences to them at closing. And again, the buyer isn't necessarily able to determine that information on their own. So a lot more changes that do affect you in your knowledge and in how you present the contracts to your clients, whether it be a listing client or a buying client, and as well as the legal effect. And there are more issues. So I just wanted to bring to your attention a couple of the issues that I think are salient for you. We are hosting several classes on the 2017 GAR. We have 4 classes in December, and then we will have many more in January and February throughout all of the Maximum One offices. We are teaching them ourselves, and we are so fortunate to have many of our closing attorneys offer to teach them or co-teach them with us as well. So please check out the calendar. I will link it below. And the December classes are already scheduled. The January classes will be scheduled very soon, hopefully by the time this video comes out. If not, keep checking back to that website, and we will have the registration links on there very soon. The entire January calendar will be coming out very shortly as well. So the link is, if you go to www.eagentweb.com and then click on the tile that says calendar, you'll click on there and you will see all of the continuing education classes and workshops that we do offer. We do open, all of our classes are free to any agent, whether you be a Maximum One agent or an agent from any company. They are for CE credit. Click on the link, it'll give you the information about the class, and then it'll give you another link to click on to register for those classes. Again, we do welcome all agents. At the top of that calendar, there'll be a link where you can click to go to the next months to see what's there. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're really excited about 2017 and really excited to see and present to y'all the GAR contracts. Hopefully we're the first ones out there to do it for you. We just like to keep all of our agents and all agents informed and educated regarding things that affect their business, especially where the contracts are concerned. Thank you so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.